It took a little while to get to you, my friend. How you doing?
I'm fine, Jamie. I always like it when you make distinctions. I think people, there are ranges of deception, some things that are exaggerations, some things that are outright misrepresentations. Distinctions are important. And I'm always glad to hear you going on about that. So
Yeah.
fine.
Well, no problem, my friend. And boy, it's been...
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What do you think about this whole issue regarding the wall? I mean, I've tried to tell people. Somebody had gotten into a skirmish with me by claiming that a wall is not conservative. And I said, I was spending on a wall. I said, listen, if you just only operated the government on the basis of what the government is tasked to do according to the Constitution, you'd basically have three things it's doing: regulating commerce, protecting our borders, and providing for our national defense. And that'd be it.
Right. Jamie, it says the leaders of the government disserve the Constitution as much when they don't do effectively what the federal government is supposed to do as when they intrude into areas where it's not supposed to belong. So, and it is supposed to do immigration and border security. So I have no problem with us paying. I mean, it's a wall we're building for our purposes. Now, if the president can get money from Mexico to do it, great. I suspect what he's saying here is that he's going to reorder the commercial relationship between the United States and Mexico in a way that advantages us enough economically to pay for the wall. I think that's what he's saying. And he wants to do that anyway because he feels like we can have a more advantageous relationship, which, again, is fine. But this is something the government is supposed to do, and that's what taxes are for. Federal taxes are to pay for the things the federal government is supposed to do, and there are some things it's supposed to do. One of the things that frustrated me so much, when I was in office, was the number of things the government was doing it wasn't supposed to do, and at the same time, it wasn't doing the few things it is supposed to do, defense being one of them. You've heard me complain about what's happened to the armed forces, and so
right.
I don't have as big a problem with who's going to pay for it, but I do want border security.
Yeah, I mean, if you really wanted to get right down to it, and of course that would probably go into a more heated argument, but you could even say that the fact that the government's, for instance, even involved in education at a federal level is a complete bastardization of what the federal government's intended to do. But I mean, if you really wanted to go there, you could point out 10 ways in which the government has places where the government has no business being.
And the Constitution's a practical document, okay, Jamie? So it looks at what it is the government at some level or other ought to do, and then it assigns those functions to the level that can do the thing best. Now, I've always believed that when the government is supposed to provide a service, and education is a service to people, right? Control over services ought to be as close as possible to the people served. And I don't care whether it's education or whether it's welfare services or police services. The federal government should not be running those because we want control over that close to the people being served, because that's when the government will be the most responsive and the best. We are talking about regulating a national economy to the extent we need to do that. Well, now you have a stronger argument that ought to be done by the national government. So these are not, where the function is performed is not an ideological thing so much as a practical thing. I think the doctrine of federalism is a practical doctrine.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I realize that the government's role in our lives has morphed. And, of course, I think that's a direct result of the imposition of the federal income tax, which grew the government and made it into the beast that it is. And that's
it empowered it. And then there are, of course, some things that we don't need the government to do at all. Like one of the things I say is, why do we need the government to tell us what to eat? I mean, whether to have toast in the morning or oatmeal or eggs.
Right.
I don't think we need the government to tell us that. I mean, I've been figuring out what to eat. I don't always make the right decisions, but I'm not going to make better decisions because I've got Big Brother telling me what to eat, right?
Right on. As always, great to have you, Jimmy. At Jim Talent, AEI.org. Take care, bud.